A/B test something on your website. I'm going to show you how to do it using a free tool called Google Optimize. Before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Michelle and I release weekly videos on marketing, websites, and all things design. So be sure to give this video a like if you find the information helpful. Before we get into the tutorial, there are a couple of requirements that I want to talk about. The first is you will need access to the head section of your website in order to do the A/B test. So this will virtually work on any website so long as you have that access. And second, you will need to be using the Chrome browser because this is a Google product. It will require a Chrome extension in order to make this work. The way I'm going to take you through this tutorial is as if we're going through it for the very first time. So if you're ready to get started, so am I. To get started, we first need to go to optimize.google.com. I'll put a link in the description. The only thing you really need to do is search for Google Optimize in your browser and you should find it. So you'll come to this page and I'm currently logged into the account that I want to use. So that's important. And then the next thing I'm going to do is hit this Get Started button. So this is just going to pop up some preferences. It's going to ask you if you want emails for tips and recommendations, product announcements, and market research. Up to you on those settings. You can choose what you'd like, but I will select those, scroll a bit, and hit Next. Again, you've got some additional preferences that you can select on the next page. Choose your country for your terms of service agreements, and then click the check boxes to acknowledge and accept those terms, and then you can hit Done. So now I can see that I am able to create my first experience. So I want to go ahead and hit the Let's Go button. We're going to give our A/B test a name. I'm going to make this name Coffee Headline Test. You'll see when we get to our example why that makes sense, but I am going to create just an A/B test for a headline. You can see that they've got some additional testing options that you can utilize. There's the multivariate test, the redirect test, personalization, and a banner template. So those are additional things that you can explore. For now, we're just going to do the A/B testing. So I will select that. I also need to add the URL of the page that I want to test. So I will come to my website example. I'm going to grab this URL and then I will paste it in this box. And then you can see that the Create button has become activated and we will click that to continue. Now that we've created this experience, we can see that we've got some additional things that we're going to need to go through, like making sure that it's linked to our analytics and setting up objectives. The first thing I'll tackle is just this top box here that says Add a Variant. So I will click Add Variant and we will call this Headline Option 2. Click Done. We are going to have an original instance of our page, and then we're going to create this variant of our page. So 50% of the weight, and you can change this to how heavy you want it to be. If you're doing an equal A/B test, you would do 50-50, so that 50% of the people that come to your website is going to get option 1, while the other 50% is going to get option 2. And then based on the action that we set up of what our ideal objective, that will determine which headline is better through the testing process. Now, I might want to come over and click View, but you can see that I get this pop-up that says Install the Optimized Chrome extension. So we do need to do this. So let's click this button, View Extension. Now, I had looked for this extension earlier by going to the Chrome Web Store, and I couldn't find it in the search results. So you may have to come to it through the Google Optimize program, but the only thing that we really need to do here is click Add to Chrome. And then it's going to give you a short message about that it needs to access the page debugger backend and read and change all your data on your website. So then you can click Add Extension to continue. When it's successfully installed, you should be able to see these two little arrows up in the top right-hand corner of your browser, and that way we know we should be good. So let's go back to our experience that we were creating. We'll hit cancel. Let's see if anything changes by hitting View Now. And it did. So we can see that we've got this extension with some options that have been placed at the top of our screen. I am viewing the original, but if I wanted to go to headline option 2, and the goal that I wanted to achieve here was to test 2 different headlines. So if I'm wavering back and forth on which one is better, this is a great way to do a quick test to see what people respond to. Really, the action that I want them to do is to buy now. So whatever call to action button that you might have, that's really going to be the driving force of how we know if something is successful. Did the headline compel them enough to click the button to want to see or know more, or to take action on a purchase? So my first headline was very kind of basic: enjoy freshly roasted coffee every day. What if we spiced it up? If I click on this H1 tag, over here, I see the edit element becomes activated. I can click that, and then I want to edit HTML. So I have the ability to come in here, and then in between my H1 tags, I can just edit this coffee. So maybe I want my headline to be, enjoy the best coffee on the planet. Who knows? Maybe it is, but we'll see if that grabs anybody's attention. We'll click apply to make that go into effect. And then we can see our change right there. We can move this little guy around too if it's obstructing our view, so that we can get a better feel of how it's showing up. So enjoy the best coffee on the planet. Looks good to me. If I want to save this element, I will just come up to the top. I will just click this enable continuously here, and then I'm going to exit out of that guy, and then I will hit done. Before I do that though, I will say, this is really, you can do an A/B test on anything really. If it's text that you want to change, if it's the color of a button, if it's a different photo that you think is going to be, you know, engage your audience's interest more than another photo might, you can really determine what that test looks like. So a lot of times it'll probably fall into the copy realm. I mean, maybe you're really struggling over whether or not a button should be red or blue. So if that's something that's really bugging you, you can always do an A/B test to see which one gets more of a response. So now that I've sort of talked through that, I'm going to click done. And if I look back up at my timeline, I can see that I've created my variants for my site, and I've added my targeting rules. And I want to make sure that this is linked properly to analytics. So that might be my next step. And then lastly, I need to set up my objectives. So how do I know that this is actually a successful test? So if I want to tackle the link to analytics, I will scroll down the page a bit, and then I can see where we've got link to your Google's analytics property to enable the measurement. So I will click link to analytics. It does give you a message that at this time, linking to a Google Analytics 4 property is currently in beta. So it might not have all of the features, but hopefully it will soon. I can see that I've got the correct property that is selected, the Michelle the Creator web, and then all I really need to do is just hit this link button. And then it's assigned an experiment ID for me, so I feel pretty good that that is all good to go. I'll scroll back up to the top. We can now see that we've got our little green check by our link to analytics text. So our next step is to set up our objectives. I'm going to click this and it should jump right to the section. And I just need to create my primary objective. So I will click Add Experience Objective. I've got 4 options that I can choose from. The first 2 are under the e-commerce tab for purchases and purchase revenue. The third is conversions and maximize purchase. And the fourth is other and page views. So if I was testing whether or not more purchases got made, I might choose something from the e-commerce tab. Another thing that I might consider is page views. So if the new headline makes the user explore our site a little bit more and clicks through to additional pages, then page views might be the one that I want to go with. I will click this and choose that one. You can do additional objectives if you'd like, but you're going to have that primary one. And if you want to know more about each objective, you can just click this little button and it will let you know all of the details regarding each objective option. I'm going to continue to scroll a bit, and then let's just make sure that we've got everything set up to go. So under Optimize Installation, we've got this little warning sign here, and let's make sure that everything is installed correctly before we proceed. So I'm going to click the Check Installation button. And it does look like there's an error. So it says that the optimized installation is not found. The web page doesn't have the optimized snippet for the container ID. There are two ways to install Google Optimize. If you want to go through Google Tag Manager, you can certainly do that. It's not actually the best way or the recommended way. The easier way is just to grab the code snippet that they've provided for you and put that into the head of your website. So if you have WordPress and you're using that as your content management system, you can put it into your header PHP file, or with Divi, which I use, you can easily go into theme options, and then there's an integrations tab, and then you can insert it into the area for the head section of your website. So super easy. It will work probably the quickest. Sometimes Google Tag Manager can be a little bit frustrating and a little bit complex. There is instructions for it if you do prefer to install that way, and I'll leave a link to those instructions in the description. However, I'm just going to take this code right now. I'm going to install it into the header section of my site, and then we're going to go and check and see if the installation was successful. Let's go back to our Optimize account. I'm going to click into our coffee headline test. And then we need to test again whether or not things are installed correctly. I will now click the check installation and see if that fixed all of our issues. And it looks like now Optimize is correctly installed. So that is great. We're going to go back to our experience. And it looks like we've got a check mark next to each of the stages that we needed to go through. So if I want to enable this experiment to start, I will click the start button. And it's just giving us a reminder that we can go back and preview any of the variants before starting our experience. So if we want to cancel and we were like, did we really change the headline to what does that look like? Let's make sure that we give that one last look. We could click web preview. So everything looks good there. We'll go back to our headline test. I'm ready to start this. So we'll click the start button. We'll go ahead and click the start button again. And now it is running. So it does have an expiration scheduled. We can see that this is started manually on this date, and then the expiration is scheduled. If we want to make any edits to this, we can just click the edit button. You can end the experience and make a copy, or you can edit the running experience. Let's try to edit the running experience. So if I click edit schedule, then I can actually select a different end time if I want it to be different from what it's chosen. So if I only want this to run a couple of days, maybe I'll run it for 3 days. We'll click the 9th. We could select a time, maybe 3 p.m. and then I could click done. So do know that you have that flexibility if that's important to shorten or lengthen the test that you're running. That's really all there is to this A/B test. If you want any more information or want to see my installation videos on Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager, be sure to check those videos out. And then if you have any questions or you run into any issues, just leave a comment and I'll see if I can help you out. If you found this information helpful, please be sure to give this video a like. Subscribing doesn't hurt either. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.